Teaching our daughters to accept God's grace for themselves in a world that's conditional, that's cause and effect. If I do this, then you'll think this, or you get the A, or you get the promotion. This is difficult, and I think it's part of the enemy's plan. Every lie that the enemy sends our way is just a twist on God's truth, just enough. And there's an addition, to perform, to do more, to be more. I'm not enough. And God fills in the cracks. His power is made perfect in our weakness. And he says we need to boast about our struggles and our vulnerability and then watch and see what God does with it. But the other side of that is grace doesn't give us permission to just stomp all over what God has done for us. And so when you know how loved you are and what God has done for you, you cannot help but want to give your whole life to him. The humanity and the struggle of being in control is real. But I do think that is a key factor, that we're trying to produce the fruit in our children and in our lives. And when we can let go of the fruit and to say God produces the fruit. But we need to be able to keep focusing in on he loves us when we make mistakes. He uses our mistakes. And we get lots of mistakes to practice with. I said this is practicing. I think our children do a lot of exposing for us as parents too. I've learned so much about myself. I didn't even know I struggled with anxiety until I started seeing my daughter struggle with anxiety. And I was like, I think that's me. That was me. I just didn't have a place to process that. So it came out in really funky ways. And for her, she's going to have a different opportunity to learn that she can be honest about her anxiety, that she can learn some healthy coping strategies. She doesn't have to hide it or pretend. So the conditional world that says, if you do this, then I'll do this, is not God's economy. I see it nowhere in Scripture. He keeps loving his people even though we're covenant breakers. But to be someone who keeps loving in the midst of behaviors that are harmful, I also want my kids and our daughters to learn boundaries and to recognize that I'm also valuable. So if you're going to continue to keep harming me, there is a limit. So grace is not soft on sin and is not something that I'm just going to be permissive of you to keep hurting me. So we've got to do some repair work. And I think there's confusion around that grace means I just get to keep doing what I want to do when I want to do it with no regard to how it might be impacting others. So I'm talking about two sides of the coin. The one that says, let's quit teaching our kids performance-based Christianity that says if you're a superstar, then God loves you more. Nobody would say that out loud, I think, but it's the way that we tend to parent. And the other side that says, I'll love you no matter what, and I'm not going to really look at the ways that you're harming yourself or others. And I think somewhere in the middle says, let's talk about it. Let's be honest about our humanity. And let's learn to go to God and let God keep helping us. So long-winded ways, but dialogue with our children, non-stop. Learning how to be a good listener, teaching them how to have a voice, helping them to be honest, and when they make a mistake, how do we respond? And getting less focused on consequences and more focused on the relationship. Those are hard skills to have and do when you didn't have that growing up. And you don't even know what that looks like. So I have so much grace for parents who are like, what is she talking about? So the next step for that parent is to say, get some help. Start learning. Be honest that you don't know what grace looks like in the home. Abuse, dysfunction begets abuse and dysfunction unless someone's ready to say, enough's enough. It's time to change the legacy. Biblically, when we read the word know, like be still and know I am God, or know you are loved, it's an experiential word. And we have taken that as like a cognitive. And so that's part of the cue is, okay, how do I think outside the box and create an experience here? And there's lots of opportunities if we're aware of it. We just often aren't because we're so busy and doing life. But the know is an experiential piece that takes longer and takes time. And so it's the practicing over, like having to make a mistake and then getting the experience of being honest and being hugged and loved. But it often is the experience we don't want our kids to have. Is that fair? Like we're trying to protect them from, to say, I'd rather you not have to experience it. I just want you to know it. And it's honestly the only way I've ever really known is, and I think we could all agree that the things we really know at a gut level are just because we've had an experience of some sort. A lot of mine came in early marriage when all my stuff's coming out and I'm like, okay, now we're really gonna have to experience somebody really letting them in behind the closed doors. So, but I think every one of us has lies. I don't think it's a matter of having lies or not. We all have them. It's just a matter of knowing what are my key lies that I'm tempted towards. So your daughter, my daughter right now, we're talking about this. Your daughter's like, what's your bent? What do you tend to believe about yourself? I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not valuable. Mine is, I talk too much. And if I listened to that, I wouldn't have courage to say what God's teaching me and wanting me to speak up. And He's giving me a voice to help people that are without a voice. And so I think it's really ironic, right? He's trying to keep me from speaking up. That I think it's worth saying, like every gift that God has given us is always met with a false match. And when we're parenting, it can look really scary and annoying because, again, a strong-willed child is passionate. It's going to be a great leader someday, but very difficult going to bed routines. So being able to reframe it, I know we called my oldest who struggled with anxiety, we called her cautious and wise instead of shy. And my youngest, who's fiery and passionate, she was definitely could have been labeled the strong-willed. I mean, she was not going to do what she didn't want to do. But it's amazing to see the slow development and how that's happening over time. God's showing us that I did this on purpose. Hang in there. But everything that He gives, the enemy's right there trying to kill, steal, and destroy. And so it's not a matter of, oh no, my child is believing a lie or she's struggling. It's a matter of going, of course she's going to struggle. The enemy wants to kill, steal, and destroy. So let's just figure out what is his tactic, and then let's combat that with God's truth, and then what experiences can we do to reinforce? Something really simple, but this is something I do with my clients, is let's say that a woman struggling with asking for what she needs, a common struggle in the Christian church. We're supposed to be gracious and thankful and not, ask for different. So I will have her experientially practice going to a coffee shop and ask for a different drink. When she gets her drink, to say, I think I needed it to be a little bit more vanilla. So counter in the church. The church would say, oh my goodness. And I go, no, that woman needs to practice what it's like to actually be assertive and ask for something different. Another woman who's overly assertive, probably not the exercise she needs. But knowing that who our children are and their bents, of course the enemy's gonna, try to fumble them up. And even today, coming here, I had a bunch of lies coming at me. And I'm fighting them, and I have all my prayer team, and I'm saying he's trying to shut me up, so I won't speak. And yet God has clearly told me, and my community has clearly told me that I am to speak, that I am part of the mouthpiece for those who are voiceless. So when we can see that for our daughters, I think it gives us greater perspective to not panic or to take it personal, like it's always our fault. Does anyone else feel like it's always our fault? But to say, nope, this is part of helping equip them. One thing that I have seen as a pattern, and I think culturally, but particularly in the church, that I feel passionate about, especially with girls, is teaching them to process their emotions. We have this paradigm that emotions are bad, that we're only supposed to listen to truth. And if you understand the design of how God made us, and you read scripturally wherever it says to know, wholehearted, to give God every part of us, He's meaning mind, body, soul, spirit, emotions, experiences. He wants it all. So not fearing our emotions as girls is really important. It's a part of my story. It's why I struggled with an eating disorder for years. It's I didn't know how to process my emotions. I knew how to tough it up and I knew how to fix it, but that's all I knew. I didn't know when I was disappointed. I didn't know when I was sad. I didn't know. And I used to get teased from my dear friends who would always call me optimistic all the time, but they were annoyed by it, to be honest. And looking back, it makes me sad for that girl because I'm a deep feeler. My husband can tell you that and attest to that. I feel things so deeply. It makes for a great counselor because I can sit in the pain and grieve with my clients. But so much of what we're doing in healing our journeys or walking alongside our kids is helping them to learn to regulate their emotions, not bottle them up, and not explode or be subject to them. So there's steps that I teach adults and children, because all of us need to learn to regulate. But can I identify my emotions? There's more than just angry, sad, and mad. Those are 3 of the same kinds of emotions. But can I identify? Do I even know where it is in my body? Can I tell if my body's starting to react? It's a cue that I'm feeling something. And then do I know what it needs? Can I ask for what I need right now? So if my daughter's feeling sad, for her to be able to come over and say, Mom, I feel sad, can I get a hug? Wow! Versus her going to some maladaptive coping strategy and feeling sad and then trying to cope in really unhealthy ways, which all of us can relate to at some level. And the final piece is being able then to advocate for those needs and receive the gift of comfort. So when I ask for it, then I actually have to receive. All of that takes time and practice. And my goal is to teach a generation of women and girls how to feel their feelings and how to meet those needs and to go to God and others, to not suffer alone. And if we can create a vocabulary for our children, I think a lot of us parents need to work on that ourselves. Do I know when I'm upset? Do I know when I'm disappointed? And then we can help our children. Instead of just letting our bodies react and then we blow up and then we go, why did I just, lambaste my daughter for that? It's because I'm unaware of what I'm feeling over here. So it's a circular process of teaching everyone how to do emotions better. It's something that I think we're missing. We're really missing in the church, and we kind of minimize too often. Emotions matter. They really matter, especially with daughters. especially with daughters.